Hi everybody, here we are again on Think Differently Thursday. My name is Helen and this is the Forge Church, and super lovely. I've got someone so much younger today. I think I've been talking to people much more my age recently, but hey, we've kind of really lowered the age limit today because we've got Ben. Hiya Ben.
Hiya.
Are you okay today?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Um, just tell us who you are. Just give us like a little snapshot. Who are you?
Snippet. I
Don't
am
give
Ben.
too much away.
I live in Suffolk and have attended the Forge for about 5 years.
Fab. And Ben, I mean, we can't not talk about it because you are the first person I've had on Think Differently since.
Ooh, I mean, what a game.
How was it for you? Tell me where you watched it and what you're thinking and feeling. A
I
few
watched
days
it at
on.
the wonderful Claire Mully's house with a few people. So, I mean, first of all, food was amazing because she's an amazing cook.
I saw some pictures on Instagram. The decorations were
Oh,
amazing. Wasn't
yeah.
there a red and white balloon
Yeah,
arch?
yeah. So there was a balloon arch with a lion in it. There was a big old gazebo, and there was two TVs. So it didn't matter where you sat, you always had like prime viewing. So I mean, 10 out of 10 for them. Like really, really good.
And I guess it
uh,
was a really good atmosphere. There were lots of you, weren't there?
oh yeah, yeah. It was great. There was maybe like 10 of us, I think. So yeah, yeah. It was so good,
Nice.
especially after like the year of not being able to see people. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And tense. I mean, I had a home of four girls here. We were like, I'd invited people over for the first time in my life. Have I ever invited someone to come and watch football? And there were four girls like watching the football, just like mad. But my goodness, it was tense. It was so tense. Couldn't
I didn't even
relax.
really like football, and I still found myself like jumping up and screaming, and yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah. Hmm.
really good.
But sad times. But we made the final. We're winners, surely,
We
because we
did
made the final.
exactly.
Okie dokie. I've got to know you a little bit over the last year because of your involvement with our online services, which has been such an experience. I've loved it because for me it's kind of catapulted me into a world that in a sense was a bit unknown, all of that online stuff, the digital stuff, but film is your thing, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah, first of all, just tell us what you do, that kind of, because this ticks your box, doesn't it, what we do?
Yeah. So I'm as in, what do I do as a professional? What do I do at church?
Let's go profession.
Okie dokie. So I'm a videographer. I mainly focus on weddings, but recently I've been doing some more kind of like corporate and commercial stuff.
Real.
And that'd be yeah, anything from promo videos to music videos and things like that.
Yeah. And you're being very modest because you've actually set yourself up in business, haven't you? And you're pretty young to have done that. Was it always the aim? Is this like been a game plan that this is what you would do, or is this something that's kind of evolved recently?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, from year 12, so kind of 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. So just kind of started kind of mid year 13 and just kept going really.
Wow. Ah, you've done well. It's really impressive. And obviously, businesses, particularly small businesses as well, have been affected by COVID restrictions. And so I guess that's true for you as well, particularly if you're saying a lot of your work is weddings. We all know what's happened with weddings. So have you been like really, really affected?
Um, I was affected for sure, but I was very, very lucky, I think, in terms of how little I was affected,
Okay.
um, because everyone kind of realised quite quickly that they needed videos to stay afloat. So I was
Right.
able to kind of jump on that bandwagon and provide videos for anyone and everyone. Um,
Right.
so yeah, it was
Because
okay.
everyone's been really, well, I guess people that have thrived are people that have adapted, aren't they? The people, I mean, very early on, agile was the buzzword, wasn't it? Like, okay,
Yeah,
this is happening. We've got to change what we're doing. I'm not talking church particularly, but everything, if you didn't kind of change what you were doing to suit the new way of doing, you were a bit stuffed in some cases, weren't you? So
Yeah,
you've in a sense benefited from some of those changes in a way.
yeah, absolutely.
Real,
Yeah.
real. So how does that mean the year ahead is looking for you? Are you picking up the wedding stuff again, or are you pushing forward with the other videos?
Yeah, so I think it's been quite nice because it's allowed me to really work out what it is that I wanted to do and
Yeah.
kind of niche down a bit on, is it weddings or is it kind of the more corporate stuff. So um, I'm definitely got quite a few more weddings coming in, and that's like my end goal, to do just weddings. But in the meantime, I'm still doing a fair bit of corporate stuff. So
Right. So tell me, Ben, what a wedding video looks like nowadays. 30 years ago, when I got married, you had a wedding. Your parents will have one as well, I'm sure. You had a wedding video, and you literally had about 3 hours worth of video to watch,
yeah.
and just captured everything on there. But that's not the case now, is it? What do people buy now for a wedding video?
So it ranges from kind of 3 minute video, just kind of like highlighting the day, up to kind of a 10 minute video, and then maybe like all of the speeches and the ceremony all separate and things like that. So it just kind
Right.
of all of the bits where you'd kind of go and sit down to watch your video, like I would imagine you'd skip through a lot of stuff. So I just kind of do that for you, I guess, and
Yeah.
present it in a movie like fashion that just makes it really easy and pleasant to watch.
Brilliant. And so when people share their video, it's like only going to take like 10 minutes as opposed to come over for the entire evening and we will
Yeah.
bore you with people
Oh,
arriving, all the people arriving in the church. Seems crazy now. um, and I've obviously stalked your website in preparation for today. You said, and I'm going to quote, "I love capturing memories, promoting ideas, and telling a story," which honestly, Ben, that so resonates with me, but I don't think I've really ever put that into words. But I think it's why I do love social media, because it's capturing a story, isn't it? Instagram says this is what's happening. But I am still somebody, there's not many of us around still, but I am somebody that still prints photos and puts photos in albums, and my albums are all categorized and labeled. And they're the thing, if my house burnt down, they are the thing that I would take, because of exactly what you're saying. It kind of captures a story, doesn't it? In fact, I'm at the moment in the process of going through the really old ones and just really kind of paring them down and getting rid of pictures of other people's kittens and landscapes and things that seem to be in albums. So I get it, and blogging and all those sorts of things, anything that records and captures a story. But I guess for you, it's about being creative. I'm not creative in how I present it. I just capture it. So for you, where has that creative streak come from?
Um, Probably my dad.
Okay.
He's really quite creative. So like quite early on, I'd kind of see him doing creative things and kind of, I guess, picked that up from him.
Right.
Um, yeah, I reckon my dad.
Yeah. We I do know your dad, and people that are listening might know your dad as well. We had a nice chat about your dad on Father's Day, I think. We happened to be together in the studio on Father's Day, and you said lovely things about your lovely dad. Tell us a bit more though tell us about your family.
Yes, so I've got two younger brothers and then mum and a dad. So they are both teachers, and Joe and Sam are. Sam's in the middle of college, and Joe's just finished college.
And tell me about growing up. So my kids have grown up with one teacher, for one of their parents is a teacher. Tell me about growing up with two parents that are teachers. Bet you're glad you didn't have to do the homeschooling thing.
Oh, no. It was always a funny one. So, like, Dad isn't technically a teacher; he's like behaviour support.
Okay.
So, Mum was only like the real kind of one to worry about, I guess. Um, but it was fine. Like, it was super helpful for like homework and things like that. And if I didn't know how to like write an essay or something, that was great. The only difficulty came when I didn't want to go to university because I wanted to just jump straight into a business,
Mm,
and because they both went down an academic route of
mm,
university,
mm.
it kind of took some negotiation to work out that that was an option I could do.
Okay, okay. So, living with your parents and two brothers, that's a lot of men in one house. My heart goes out to your mum. How does she cope? Four men and her. Are you kind
Honestly,
to her?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not really here to be fair, anyway. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I genuinely don't know. She's not like a girly girl though. So, like, she always
Okay.
said if she had daughter, like, she's not into makeup and things like that. So,
Okay.
I don't think it's been too bad.
Maybe
But
I should maybe I should chat to her and hear and
yeah,
find out.
maybe
I
think
could ask
differently.
her the same question. Okay, and we mentioned earlier that I kind of feel like I've got to know you much more this year because we're often in the studio together. Um, so I might be hosting, and you are often behind the camera, so people wouldn't see you doing the camera stuff. But I think it was that Father's Day one. You actually like produced the whole thing, didn't you? Is that I would find that so stressful because actually ultimate responsibility was with you. I was just like presenting what you were doing. Is it stressful?
I mean, it was to begin with, so I'd done it a few times before, um, but then like we all kind of changed it around in terms of how we did it behind the scenes at the Forge. So it was different, but it wasn't stressful. It's a lot like how I'd edit anyway, so
Okay.
it's like don't make a mistake. But it's quite easy to not make a mistake. So yeah, no, I don't think so.
Easy for you to say then.
Well, before I made some terrible mistakes, but
We learn from them, don't we? So if that's not stressful, like I guess maybe because that's where your real skills are. So what in life does make you feel stressed? Anything?
I don't know really. I get
Nice.
like anxious a lot,
Okay.
but I can't like pinpoint it to stress.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm just like, in terms of stress levels, pretty laid back. I think like
Mm, it's
I'll
a good
just
way
crack
to be. It's a good way
on.
to be. You've yeah, you said there that sometimes you get anxious, and you have been really honest in and around church before, and you've helped us at times when we've tackled some of the difficult issues, particularly around mental health. And you've struggled at times, haven't you? Tell us about that. How's that been?
Yeah, so I've struggled with depression and anxiety, mainly depression, I think, and then kind of anxiety came off the back of that.
Okay.
Since year 11, so 6 years ago, I think.
Mm,
And I've been on antidepressants kind of since year 12,
okay.
and they've like massively helped. So
Right.
I definitely haven't been as low as I was before then.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, it's been tough, but ultimately, like I've really learnt from it.
Okay.
Like it's it allows me to read people a little bit better and empathize with people a little bit better.
Yeah.
So yeah, ultimately, like obviously, I've wished that I haven't had it, but I know that God's really worked through it
Yeah.
to get positives out there. So that's good.
I think we often think that we are stronger because of some of the difficulties and the dark places that we kind of walk through, don't we? Do you think, and you have said there about God, and I know you're a Christian, have you ever felt that there is a pressure being a Christian to present yourself as fine and okay, and that it's kind of almost not an okay thing to not be okay? Do you know what I mean?
I think um, quite possibly in the past, but I've been quite lucky that when I started to really struggle with depression, the church really started to kind of accept that and do like, a series on it's okay not to be okay and things like that. I think the pressure for me was more this kind of, because a lot of the time I felt numb, I wouldn't feel God. So it was this whole thing of, I'm in a church where everyone's feeling God and I don't feel anything. And I think that's where the pressure came from.
Mm.
This thing of, where is God? Like, why can't I feel him? Things like that.
It's really interesting. I think it's really helpful for people to hear some of the things that you're saying, like the fact that you've taken antidepressants. I think, it just blows away the kind of whole taboo about it. And for you to say so much better on those. Yeah, or to explain what it feels like, that saying it feels numb. It's so helpful just to know that. So do you have strategies in life that you need to be mindful of and implement to maintain good mental health?
Yeah, so I think my main two are being with people.
Okay.
Uh, so a lot of that time that works really well with church.
Yeah.
That be band or on a Sunday, things like that. But the other one is being outside. And again, like, if that's with people, then that's fantastic. But if it's not, just being outside helps. Uh,
Really
so yeah, that kind of music, being with people, and being outside all kind of work together quite well.
brilliant. Um, so that, you've said about music, and if you're not behind the camera, then we do see you playing in our band at church as well. So it's interesting to hear you say that actually, being with people is helpful. And so that's obviously a group of people that you're with quite regularly. Tell us what being part of that team is like.
Oh, it's genuinely like such a blessing. So like, I've grown so much in confidence and in myself and in my relationship with God through that. But also, like, I think I was thinking about this the other day. It's quite uncommon to have so many friends that aren't your age,
Yes.
because you'll either have friends from school or colleagues, but church is just so special in that you can have friends who are kind of late 80s, and then you can have friends that are kind of around 17, 18, things like that. And so it's really, really cool
Yeah.
that there's just such a social element to it.
I think the other thing that often happens with church is like you are walking beside people of different ages, but also people of just a whole diversity of experience and work lives. So often in other areas, you tap in because of things that you've got in common that means your lives are quite similar. But church is just like all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life, isn't it? Which is good for us, isn't it? I think it's such a good thing. And so we, a couple of weeks ago now, we came back together for our first in-person service at the Forge. And you guys were part of the band. What was that like for you? I mean, we weren't meant to sing, were we? So that was like tricky, but it was so great. How did you find it?
It was really weird, actually. So mainly because for everyone else, I would imagine it felt like this big return to church, but it didn't for me, because I'd been at church in person every week, which has
Right.
been like such a blessing. Because even in like kind of mid lockdown, when you weren't allowed to see your mates, I was still able to see my friends at church
Yeah.
because I was serving. So
Yeah.
it wasn't as kind of big as it was perhaps for other people,
Mm.
but it was still like so nice just to be in a room with everyone and to
Yeah.
hear the music kind of out front, as well as just in the ears and things like that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was really.
I was going to say it must have been so lovely for you to be part of the band and see people's faces, but of course you couldn't really see faces, could you? We were smiling, Ben. We were really smiling. um, so I think you said earlier that being part of that team and serving with the band has helped your faith grow. So for anyone listening that kind of doesn't understand what that means, I mean, how has that happened? How would your faith in God grow because you play with the band?
So I think the the biggest one that I can pinpoint is like my identity in God. So, like a few years ago, I was just kind of starting to own my faith for my own, as opposed
Mm,
to because my parents wanted me to go to church.
yeah,
And naturally, I fell into this kind of category of being the guitarist in the band and things like that. So in my head, that's who I was. I was, the guitarist in the band for the Forge, for God, things like that. And then, like, that quite quickly became an issue when, like, other guitarists came, for
right.
example, because like I felt like my identity was going to be taken away. So that was like super important because that meant I was able to find my identity in God as opposed to my identity in kind of hobbies and kind of earthly things.
Yeah,
So that's probably like the biggest way that my faith has grown.
yeah. That's great. Yeah, I really understand what you're saying there. And do you have things that you do that you're really intentional about to help you continue to grow your faith and to stay connected with God?
Um, I think band again. I'm on pretty much every week,
Mm,
just because it keeps me accountable. It means that we're praying together, we're worshiping together, and try to sign up to like as many other church things in the evenings or
right.
kind of with friends who are Christians and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I'm always doing something.
Sounds great. It's like that old thing, isn't it? That the more that you put in that's good,
Yeah.
the better the relationship. Sounds really great. And more sort of generally, outside or alongside faith, you are young, and this should have been a time of like real kind of freedom and an exciting time of life. How would you say that this whole COVID experience has been for adults that are your age? I know you've said that you've been fortunate in the work that you've done with or the way you serve at church has kept you connected, but sort of wider than that, how would you say it's been for guys your age?
I think it's really hard for me to kind of speak into that because I've been so
Yeah.
fortunate in that I'm not like I would imagine the majority of people my age because I could still do so many things. But I would imagine it's been like really difficult, especially like a lot of kind of my friends from school will be finishing their last years at university and things like
Um,
that, and so they won't have been able to go out and do the things that they wanted to do and
yeah,
see the people they wanted to see. So
yeah.
yeah, quite
Mm,
difficult.
yeah. So are you someone that I think we feel like we're coming out of this kind of crazy, weird year. Are you someone that thinks ahead and plans ahead? I mean, you've got a business up and running already, but you've got hopes and aspirations for the future?
Um, I mean, not massively.
Mm,
Like I always think it's odd. Like that's where my anxiety creeps in if I look
okay.
too far
Oh,
forwards.
okay. Yeah.
So I'm often kind of like I've learned to just take it as it comes. Kind of I'd love to at some point have my own place, move out, do a lot more wedding work, kind of travel things like that. I'm exploring converting a van to kind of copy
Everyone's
job.
doing it.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. But in terms of like main kind of hopes and dreams, I'm not really sure. I'd love a family, but that that'll be a while. So
Mm,
yeah.
cool. And we're halfway through, or just over halfway through this year, another half to go. Can you think of anything just kind of from this strange time we've lived in that you would say that you've learned personally about yourself or done or changed that you feel is positive and that you want to take into like this next half of the year?
I think
You can just say no.
um, probably like how to be in my own company
Okay.
because I knew that I'm best mentally when I'm with other people.
Mm.
I never really let myself be alone with myself.
Mhm.
So because of kind of a lot of the time being forced to be in my own company, that's when I've worked out things like, oh, actually being outside is really good for me,
Yeah.
in terms of mentally and things like that. So
Mm.
probably that, and then
It's a good thing to know about yourself, isn't it, and learn.
and also like how to find God when I'm by myself.
Mm.
So a lot of the time, especially like, as I said, I often don't feel God.
Mm.
It's very easy to feel Him when you're in a room
Mm.
worshipping with people,
Mm.
because you're kind of you're getting off on their worship highs, as it were, and that's how
Mm.
you feel. But
Mm.
it's not a personal
Mm.
feeling with God a lot of the time for me.
Mm.
So being alone has helped me kind of find that.
Mm. I think that's really interesting, and I think that's almost a mini version of what it has been possible to feel it with church taken away for other people. And realizing that actually, if that's the only time and place that you feel connected with God through what's going on and what's being fed to you, you've got to do something about it yourself, haven't you? You've got to put in your own work and disciplines to stay close to God. Interesting. Oh, it's really lovely to chat to you, Ben, and to find out a little bit more about you. Um, I've got an and finally question. You, again, I know this because I stalked your website. You say you enjoy new experiences and you love a challenge. So, film is your thing. If you could film anyone, anywhere, doing anything, what would it be? Who would it be?
So
Where would it be? What would they be doing?
I had to think about that whilst I was camping this week. I read that question, and that was kind of the main one that I thought about. And I think it would just be so great to be on the beach with Jesus after he's kind of come back, and he's having fish for breakfast
Yeah,
whilst the sun's setting with all of his disciples. Like that would just be such a surreal experience to document and kind of be in. That'd be absolutely my number one.
imagine being the filmmaker that captured
That would just
that. That's so cool. Thank you. I know you're busy, and so I'm really grateful for the time that you've given me this afternoon. It's lovely to chat to you. Lovely to hear a bit more about your story. And really helpful. Some of the stuff that you've said is just very insightful and really helpful to other people, I'm sure. So thank you, and thank you for all that you do at the Forge. I know that you give so much time, and we use your equipment, and you are just such a blessing to us. So huge thank you to you as well. Thanks very much.
right.
See ya. Bye.